just always make sure that you're doing what you like. And if you find yourself not doing things that you like, then question what you're doing. That would be my advice. My name is Andréa Connell, and I'm an associate professor in ceramics in fine and applied arts. So I grew up in Manassas, Virginia, and at that time, Manassas was a fairly rural area. My mom was an artist, a painter, and my dad worked in construction, but was also a bit of a poet. And so I think creativity was always something that was happening in our house, or building or constructing in some way or another. My dad also had a garden, and some of my earliest clay memories would be walking through the garden after a rain and squishing my toes in the mud. And I just remember loving that sensation and loving digging in the earth. And I think that influenced me maybe in tactile ways that I wasn't fully aware of. The things that influenced me throughout my childhood the most were I had a few people in my life who supported me enormously with my creativity outside of my immediate family. My immediate family was always very supportive. I had fantastic high school art teachers, a fantastic elementary art school teacher, and they always encouraged me in that path. And so it always felt like a very natural path for me. I went to Maryland Institute of Art for college. I was not a great high school student, so it was kind of a miracle that I got into school. I got into college really based off of my portfolio. And I attended with the contingency that I had to have a tutor and be on the dean's list to be able to stay in school. And when I got to college and I was surrounded by artists and teachers that knew how to teach to artists, I just flourished. And in my junior year, I found clay. I thought I wanted to be a painter or a photographer because that was what I knew through my mom. But when I found clay, I never left the studio again. And that's what set me on this path. So I kind of randomly applied to be a work study at a place called the Clay Studio in Philadelphia, and they miraculously took me in and essentially gave me a little workspace where I could make work and put it back onto a shelf in exchange for 20 hours of work a week. So I was doing that on top of having 3 really random and pretty horrible jobs. And it was sustainable for about 9 months, I think. And then I moved back home and was a personal shopper for Nordstrom's and started saving money. I was actually very good in retail. And I made commissions off the sales I would make. And I kind of enjoyed it until I didn't. And then that desperation actually pushed me into making a next step, which was to do a Postbac program at Louisiana State University. And while I was there, I experienced a place that had really its own unique and diverse culture, and I just loved it. I could not have loved my time there more. And I took a little bit of a break from the studio after being there for a year. I ended up staying in Baton Rouge for 3 years. And during that time, I played with ideas of wanting to go to graduate school for special effects makeup, to pastry school, to grad school for ceramics. And I really was kind of torn. I didn't know which I wanted to do. But after I took a break from the studio for a while, I got that desperation to get back in the studio again. And that's when I applied to graduate schools. I knew that in going to grad school, the main reason that I was going was because I wanted to become a better artist. I knew I would have teaching opportunities in the grad school that I was going to, and I was curious enough about it that I wanted to go to a grad program that offered me the opportunity to be in the classroom. Every year that I was there, I was able to teach my own course. So I left grad school having taught like 12 classes and feeling really engaged with being in the classroom and recognizing really clearly how it challenged me in what I do. Having to explain to students like where my values were, how to do certain things and why, it really challenged me in those decisions also. When I was graduating from Ohio University, a gallerist, Mindy Solomon, gave me my first solo exhibition opportunity at the Florida Holocaust Museum, because I was making work that was dealing with intergenerational trauma and particularly dealing with my family's personal history as Holocaust survivors. That was a really profound moment for me because I realized that people were taking what I did seriously. And to me, I think that alone was such a powerful way to step out of school, and gave me confidence to move forward in a way that I don't know that I would have had otherwise. Another opportunity that came that kind of opened up my practice in unexpected ways was from a gentleman, William Frederick, who was a landscape architect in Delaware. I had met him when I was teaching a class at Haystack Center for Craft in Maine, 2 or 3 summers prior, and he had liked my work and I think I gave him my information. He said he was thinking about this commission, but then I never heard from him, and I thought that was gone. And then 2 or 3 years later, he contacted me and said, okay, I want you to build a 6 or 7 foot tall head of the god of winter wind for my winter garden. And I said, okay, even though I had never done anything like that before. But I told him, I said, I'll do it, but I need some help in getting some equipment for it. And I also don't know how to pack it, transport it, install it. And you have to do all of that. And he said, okay. And so it really just turned into this incredibly generative learning experience for me. I was terrified because I had never built something like that before at that scale, and then also something that would have to live outside. So I had to develop a clay body that could exist outside. And at the end of the project, I left that just feeling completely exhilarated. My students got to help me through the entire project, traveled with me for the installation of it, for the crane lifting and plopping of it. And, it was just so wonderful. My work was really large. It took me a while to get really comfortable in building that way. It was through a lot of failures, like coming in and finding a lot of pieces on the floor from collapsing overnight, and then realizing what I shouldn't do. Scale is content to me. And I didn't have any motivation for building smaller things until I came here. And I started to have this idea for these grass figurines that I wanted to make, that basically dealt with the history of ceramic figurines and the cabinet, and thinking about time that is passing from those mementos and collectibles. And so I started to roll these little teeny tiny blades of grass and covering these figurines in those. And those I feel like were a real shift for me in my practice, and has led me to the pieces that I'm making now, which, I was going from like the public spectrum, from like dealing with monuments with my gallery work, to public art. And now I was turning back into the home with these little figurines. some of the most profound moments for me as an artist have been when my family can travel with me, and particularly with my daughter, when she gets to go with me to an artist talk, or like my unveiling at the Cleveland Public Library, and gets to see me doing that. I feel like I'm passing something on to her that possesses a lot of potential, that I'm hoping, it means so much to me to be able to have her there seeing that. And I hope that it's something that is as meaningful to her in how she can envision herself, because it's all a surprise to me where I've landed.